Wizard. Hello. Yeah, this is really hurting. Hello and welcome to In the Court of Wenton King. If you want to buy us a coffee, thank you very much. Check out our Patreon at patreon.com/Wenton King. My beard is falling off, which is quite difficult. But yeah, we're reaching a conclusion of our drummer Odyssey, drummer book Odyssey. There was a great comment last week. Someone said, my favourite drummer book review channel. Okay, it's not staying on. That's it's done. It's done. There we go.
Maybe we should, mind you, he hasn't written an autobiography and we'll probably have to learn French. Gajira, the Gajira drummer.
Gajira drummer, wow, yeah.
That'd be amazing.
Well, Magma, perhaps he'll do one.
Yeah.
And, I think there's a Robert Wyatt one. Robert Wyatt one. There is a Robert Wyatt one.
What about ELP dude?
Carl Palmer. He's the only one of the three of them who hasn't done one, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
You would have thought he'd be one of the prog drummers.
You would, wouldn't you? Yeah. Who else is there? Alan White wouldn't do it, I don't think. There is a joke with Alan White about he always says he wrote all the songs. And I think he did contribute to writing. But there was one of the concerts I went to, I think it was the NEC in Birmingham, 2004. At one point, John said, "So this next song, Alan wrote this." And the whole audience was laughing, and he was sort of, well, thanks. Because he does actually contribute to the writing, but he's a drummer, and he's not a very interesting drummer compared to you know who. Speaking of not very interesting drummers, Nick Mason. It's interesting how we've done these three books go together, because again, this isn't an autobiography like Bill's one. So it's interesting. All three match their personalities, or their drumming personalities. So obviously, a book written by Nick Mason isn't about Nick Mason or his drumming, because there isn't any. There isn't any drumming. It's just a book about Pink Floyd, because he can't write, about himself, because he's not that interesting. He could have done an autobiography, couldn't he?
He's actually pretty interesting.
And he's a very entertaining individual, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's really struck me. I realised how we're constantly making jokes and pretending we've got a complex about Genesis being so posh. And we don't do it with Pink Floyd.
Yeah, it is strange.
And it's because they come across as more interesting people, whereas really Banks and Rutherford come across as very dour bankers, basically.
They're probably the next level up, aren't they?
Perhaps they are.
Rutherford and Banks. But no, these are pretty posh.
Yeah. To us,
they're from Cambridge, aren't they?
Yeah, they're mega poshos.
Yeah.
Did you know years ago, not that long ago, maybe 50 years ago, there were like riots and fights in Cambridge because between the locals and the university lot, and that's why they were all told they had to wear their caps and gowns at all times, so they'd be identified. Apparently, yeah, I thought it was quite funny. But Cambridge is interesting place. There's lots of inequality. There's like proper destitute people there. That's why if you leave a bike or even tie a bike to something, you'll go turn around and come back, the wheel's gone. Because there's lots of thefts. Does that have anything to do with Nick Mason? Yeah, he's the one stealing it. So yeah, it's a Pink Floyd biography. There is a bit. I think, does he talk about like his record Breaking Pie or whatever it was he did? I can't remember it. But the bits between the band, a little bit about his car stuff, but not very much. It is a Pink Floyd biography. The book's only flaw, really, is on the bottom. Is that one? His Pigs Might Fly, only because that one came out after and contains material from that one. So it's not fair. In a sense, that's the best Pink Floyd biography, actually, because that sort of amalgamates it together. But obviously, I mean, it's like I said, it is the personal history of Pink Floyd. Someone who was actually there saying the stuff.
Maybe we should do Pigs Might Fly because I've got that.
Right, yeah. I think that's the best one. But and yet again, it almost duplicates this with a bit of extra. The problem with this book is Dave Gilmour, and Dave Gilmour told him to take a load of stuff out. You have to remember there is an element of him sort of trying to whitewash his history. Especially in the 80s, he wanted to put forward an image of himself as the guy who wrote all the songs, even though he didn't really do that. And to be fair with Gilmour, his contribution to the classic stuff, it's harder to define than that. It wasn't like he wrote the song, but what he did contribute is crucial. Not just the guitar playing. There's production, there's ideas, there's how we go about this song that Roger's written.
Well, yeah, you could listen to the sort of Roger Waters solo albums, and that's what you get without Gilmour and the others.
Yeah, genuinely. Yeah, so that's the thing. And also, apparently, Roger Waters read through some stuff and crossed out stuff saying, bollocks! But, of course, in the book, he says Roger did that, and he doesn't mention the fact that Gilmour did that. Or maybe he does a bit, but it's played down. But, of course, there's a whole load of stuff cut out. All the drugs in the 80s, Gilmour was on coke, I think. Probably coke, it was the 80s. And that's not mentioned. It had to be left out, because Gilmour said, oh, that's not me, I'm the nice guy. I wrote all the songs. And now you have the internet flame wars of Gilmour supporters and Waters supporters, who are very easy to troll, obviously, prod them. I've had people say, no, actually, once you've round them up anyway, and they don't say it before, they say after you've wound them up, they'll say, actually, you'll find Gilmour wrote all the famous songs, all the big hits. Which big hits? Another Brick in the Wall? That's their biggest hits, isn't it? Yeah. No, we didn't write them. No, we didn't. And yeah, it's all the stuff we know. It's some of the stuff we don't know. Some nice stuff about Sid, which I don't think was anywhere else. When this came out, there was a load of stuff which hadn't been said before. About them. For the first time, we heard about them watching the moon landings live, and they all thought it was a conspiracy. Straight away, except for Sid. Sid said, actually, no, this is really happening. And he was right. There you go. And if you don't think he was right, you're an idiot. Move on.
Well, yeah, you might be wasting your life on something that's little consequence.
Pretty conclusive now. Yeah. What else can we say? I haven't planned to say anything about any of these book reviews because I talk too much anyway, even without planning anything. So if I plan something, there's just too much information.
Yeah, I mean, as a book review, so as a book, it is of the three books, it's the most entertaining.
Yes, it must be.
I'm pretty sure I read that in one day,
Yeah, because it's absolutely... Yeah, cause it's Pink Floyd and we know all the music and it's really well written.
I just love the way he says, well, this may be true, it may not. It's sort of a bit fuzzy because in other words, I'm remembering this. So take it all with a pinch of salt.
In other words, he's got to be very, very tactful about this because they don't agree on what happened.
Yeah.
Who wrote Wish You Were Here again?
Yeah. But you're right, you learn very little about the process of music making in this one. It is
That's true, actually.
It is the direct opposite of the Bruford. Mind you, so was Phil's book.
Phil was different again. Phil was an autobiography about himself. Yeah.
So this is
just a book about Pink Floyd.
Yeah. And it is good because, Pink Floyd is just one of those bands. They're incredibly successful, incredibly famous. Yet in the 90s, the sort of mid-90s when I was sort of late teenagers, they were a bit of a mystery, really. A bit like Led Zeppelin,
Well, it's the same thing.
Yeah, Led Zeppelin just, they were completely off the map, and then sort of they got almost rediscovered by a generation.
Yeah.
And I think it is the same with Pink Floyd.
Well, I think every generation does, but because they didn't do the media thing in the 70s, that's Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd were like that, the 70s people didn't know what they looked like. The famous thing about them going into the audience and nobody knew they could just walk through because no one knew what they looked like. Even the people at the concert, because they were that big. And I think, particularly in the 90s, because we were bombarded with media, biggest, the peak of the industry, as I've said many, many times. And, Floyd and Zeppelin were incredibly uncool. And I discovered them and slowly realised, they're massive. It's not just me. This isn't my secret music at all. They're the biggest bands of all time. Literally. They sold how many records? When you look at the Led Zeppelin chart placings, it goes 4, 1, 1, 1, 1.
So, I mean, it's very good for someone discovering Pink Floyd to sort of go through, because you will just soak it all up. Yeah. It is all great stuff.
Whereas with Genesis, they just make great albums and they are interesting characters.
Mm-hmm.
But this is actually a story. It's actually a really good story
about
what happened and stuff. And it's a fairy tale. Someone would write that as a story because what happened to Sid and what subsequently happened, and then they fell out and all that. It's even got a 3-act structure.
Yeah. I don't know if it does, because the problem I felt with Bills, but I mean, as I said, I was kind of interested in the early Genesis era.
Yeah.
And obviously there was a lot of tension in the band between...
Yes.
Upper class tension. A lot of things go instead. It's all done with sneery looks and stuff like that. And it's the same in Pink Floyd, It
is the same thing, actually, yeah. Although for some reason, we don't talk about it like that. We just talk about it as they're just really angry people.
Well, I mean, who was it? The Pompeii thing? Richard Wright says there's a lot of things that go unsaid. In other words, I'm really pissed off with everyone.
But I'm not going to say anything.
I'm not going to say anything.
Just play very quietly.
And I mean, you get a bit of that in here. I mean, because it is a history of the band, I suppose part of it is focusing on the relationships in the band. With Phil Collins, you get none of that.
No, you don't.
Oh, and Peter Gabriel left because
Yeah, I'm a good friend with him
though. So I've been a friend with him ever since he left, and he left.
yeah. Genesis, although it's really obvious, and they all admit it, really, they don't talk about it. Yeah. Whereas with Pink Floyd, it's out in the open.
Yeah.
and it went just that step further, really, didn't it, in all the litigation and stuff. Because with Genesis, nobody left until Phil left.
I suppose you could sort of say this is what the lawsuit was about.
I wonder if legally he's limited on what he can say. Maybe that's what it is.
I'm sure lawyers would have been involved.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem is, actually, you have to... And he, certainly at the point of writing this book, he had to please Gilmour. He's on the Gilmour team.
Yeah.
And he had to... He doesn't say anything that's not true, as far as we know. We only know we only know things from what people who were there have said. You can't make up your own version.
Well, the point is, because he was there, he can say, as my recollection goes,
yes,
this is what happened, sort of thing. So he's not lying there if that's how he recollects it.
So technically that's our number one source.
Yeah.
And also the quotes from what other people have said. I mean, I don't know his name. What's his name? Producer of The Wall. See, I say I've had a problem with names, but unfortunately everyone says that. And with me, it's actually true. Problem is, if I look up The Wall producer, it'll probably come up Roger Waters.
No, I remember. Wasn't it The Wall where they tried to get Rick Wright to record? He wanted to record some stuff, and they gave him a bit of time in the studio to record it, and he didn't bother turning up. He stayed on his boat. Was that The Wall?
That's The Wall, yeah. That's when, they had a plan to come back at a certain time, but the record company, just to really put a fly in the ointment, decided to say, if you finish the album before Christmas, we'll give you $1 million quid. So Roger says, right, we're going back again. And so send a message to Rick Wright, you're coming back. And Rick says, no, fuck off.
Was it Bob Ezrin?
Bob Ezrin. There we go, Bob Ezrin. What was I saying about Bob Ezrin? Yeah, I mean, what he says is valuable because he was actually in it at the peak time of angriness. And he says he sees it as a public school thing, and he's American, so he's coming, and he stood up to Roger Waters, and they all really like that. Can't talk to me like that, motherfucker.
I would.
Roger responded like, what?
I'd love Roger Waters to do a biography of Pink Floyd.
Goodness me.
That'd be
I bet
amazing.
he's saving that.
I bet he's written it.
No,
yeah, it's in a dark cupboard.
And when Nick said this is wrong. And when Gilmore said this, it's wrong. I bet it wouldn't be. It would be really nice.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we all love each other, friends.
I mean, sort of. Roger Waters was an incredibly difficult. Well, I'm pretty certain Roger Waters is an incredibly difficult person to work with.
I think that's safe to say.
I mean, even Eric Clapton said it, didn't he? When he was on his own, he said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." Hard to imagine. I mean, it does come out in there a bit, but not a lot.
He glosses it over.
And he does.
And he's very, very, very cleverly written in that it's all there.
Yeah.
But it's never. So we know Roger wrote all the songs.
Yeah.
And we know Roger was unbelievably difficult. But at the same time, it's just softly.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have a... So Gilmore came in and he helped too. And Roger, well, he was, well, the truth is much more.
It would be nice to have a couple of anecdotes in there, wouldn't it? The way you just put into perspective how bad it was. So,
let's tackle the drumming, because the thing about Pink Floyd is about absence, and it's strange how the who they are, what happened to them, is the music, and how that's universal, and it's just everything. We said about the Beatles that they were at the right time, but with Pink Floyd, it's just weird. It's like it was written like that, isn't it? Mm. It's just so strange, and obviously the absence thing, the absence of drumming, is one of the key things in the band. Because he's. I always say he's not a drummer. He plays the drums, but he's not a drummer. Which is obviously it's an exaggeration. I mean, he's definitely got better. You go from 72 to 77. He got a lot better in that time. And if you look, 77, he's playing Dogs. Now, even if you're only playing two drums like that, you've got to know the song, and it's a big, structured, complex thing. So he's not completely useless. He had to, And then for the final cut, just to make things easier, just I can understand why he learnt drum notation. You know why, really, don't you? So you can just get out there. I've done my drums, leave me alone. So to suggest he was the Bev Bevan, the guy who hangs around with musicians, is partially true. I'll put it that way. And in just nearly every other band ever, not true. A band is as good as its drummer. And that's why Pink Floyd is so weird, because the drummer's terrible. But the fact that the drummer's terrible makes the music amazing. And of course, again, it's like anything, you'll get people saying, "Oh, actually, he has special touch that no one else has. Just because he doesn't play a million notes a minute, he's actually nobody else can do what he does."
Was it? I'm sure I heard something this week. Was it Quincy Jones said the Beatles were the worst musicians ever?
Yeah, he had a proper brain fart.
I kind of, maybe I've got sympathy with that point. I don't look at the Beatles and think, wow, George Harrison's playing that guitar well.
No, of course he does.
I mean, it almost makes me wonder if, having a sort of standard of musician, it's weird, The thing about Genesis was they were good musicians,
Yeah.
But they never reached...
Well, we'll talk about that next week.
They never reached the level of Pink Floyd, yeah? And that's probably...
Success, yeah.
I mean, I think we've compared them to Yes in the...
Success, yeah.
In the back. But I think Pink Floyd is probably a closer comparison.
It is. It's very different, because Pink Floyd were like that successful in the 70s and then still quite successful. Whereas with Genesis, it was just a diagonal line. It was, and actually the good stuff. Sorry, I just put.
That's all right.
The good stuff, they weren't that big. Phil says, that when they played the whole of the Lamb, they're a big band, but they weren't the Who.
Yeah.
In total, I wonder if imagine Genesis have sold more records than the Who, but that includes like Invisible Touch and all that stuff.
But I mean, I think my point is, being good musicians doesn't equate to success. However you want to rank success,
it doesn't necessarily equate to good music.
You end up with, if you have the best musicians, you end up playing fusion or something like that. You don't write successful million-selling albums sort of thing.
That's more about if you leave them to it, really, isn't it? The better musician you are, the more freedom you have choice. Now that can mean I'm going to show all of these things all at once, and it's boring.
If you've got a 4-piece band though, and there's 4 good musicians there, that's the way they're gonna head, isn't it? And there's going to be competition of who gets to do the best mix. So, I mean, the fact that he's not a good drummer, I personally can't tell. I can't tell. I can't tell a good drummer from a bad drummer.
So you can't. I mean, if you listen to Phil,
no,
and you listen to Nick Mason, they're just drumming.
If they were played side by side, I'm pretty sure I could tell. Yeah. Like Pepsi Challenge.
You could just by the way they sit.
Yeah. Well, maybe just by the way they sit. But I mean, listening to the music, I'm not listening to the drumming. Yeah, I'm actually not listening to the guitar playing.
Yeah.
I'm listening to it as a whole.
The whole, yeah.
And as long as that works, and the only way the drumming can't work is if it's jarring to the point of, oh man, this is ruining and this is ruining a good song here. I mean, he's never done that.
No.
I mean, that's what he's got to do. He's just got to stay out of the way and not try and stretch himself beyond what he can do to the point where it actually ruins the music.
Yeah, you could at a stretch call it musical intelligence.
I don't think
Bill Bruford. In that I'm not going to do anything now because I'm not going to ruin it.
Yeah, I don't think it's musical intelligence. I just think that's his persona, and those guys work so hard at it. I mean, let's face it, some of the albums they put out in the early days were just crap. But they worked and they kept going. Most people would say, no, this ain't working. I'll go and join another band and try something else.
That's another story, in that most bands wouldn't get the opportunity to keep going after they've screwed up.
Yeah.
And for some reason,
Pink Floyd just kept doing it. And they pulled through. So, I mean, take the piss out of Nick Mason because he's not a good drummer. But he's not in there saying, I'm a great drummer. He's actually acknowledging his flaws, that he's not great. I mean, Roger Waters is the same. He's not a great bass player and he knows it.
Yeah, and he's not really a bass player. He's just a songwriter who happened to play bass.
Yeah. And I from his personality and the way he writes and the way he presents himself, in a band with so much tension, you need a Nick Mason.
Imagine.
You just need
imagine if Bill Bruford was in Pink Floyd. That's bad.
I mean, at the end of it, that's his contribution to the band, is his diplomatic abilities, I would say.
A bit like Phil, actually.
Yeah.
But without any drumming.
Yeah.
But it is an exaggeration. If you listen to Animals, that's a drummer. You need a drummer to play on Animals. Not just the cowbell. I can do that bit.
I mean, he was playing drums for how many years? He must be able to, play a rhythm.
That's the thing. And to the time he was doing it, like I said, 72, 77, it was an upward trajectory, but then he just stopped. And when he wasn't touring, he just didn't play because he's not a drummer.
Mm.
You see what I mean? And that's why, so sadly, he's not on Momentary Lapse of Reason, because he hadn't played the drums since 83. Actually, it must have been 84, because he did a bit of Gilmore live stuff, I think. And I do think, see, I'm not just slagging him off as a drummer. If he was on Momentary Lapse of Reason, drumming, I don't know, maybe he's playing tambourine or something, it would be a much better album. It would bring it to life, and it would give it a bit of energy. There's no songs, is there, on that album anyway, but it wouldn't be just so crass and lifeless.
Mm.
So on that high note...
Are we going to egg this sucker?
Yeah. I mean, the problem is we've already done Pink Floyd. We've already talked so much about Pink Floyd, and we've just talked more about Pink Floyd.
Yeah, but we're egging the book now.
Yeah. It's a 5-egg one because it's really entertaining.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, as I say, I'm not a big music book reader, but I mean, I lap this up.
Yeah.
This was great.
Yeah. Because you like the music, it's a great story, it's really well written, it's really funny. He's very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite a droll sense of humour.
Yeah. Very, very British, again. Yeah. That kind of thing. Well, all three of them are, aren't they? That's interesting, but in completely different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a big fan of music biographies, generally. So I bought some recommendations. I had to carry them in my bag and they were heavy, so I hope you appreciate this. That's the best Pink Floyd one because it contains most of that plus really. And then again, that's the closest you'll get to the truth because it's someone who was there. This is a personal favourite one. This is Ian Gillan's autobiography. Now the problem with this is there's later versions, later revisions. You don't want any of the later revisions. They're pretty boring. Early on he's talking about he had a friend called Barry, and they were making in those days kids would make call them trolleys, homemade go-kart things, but he tried to turn it into a submarine with rockets on it that would fly. They wanted to see if he could fly. Remember the 5th of November, gunpowder, treason and plot. If Barry can fly and comes back alive, I'll probably earn quite a lot. There's lots of that going on. It's brilliant. And then later revisions where they added on the water incident and the later stuff that happened. It's all been taken out. It's all been edited, and they've tried to turn it into a Deep Purple biography, which is boring. It's actually a not very good Deep Purple biography now, whereas this is something he wrote on the road, obviously, and it's quite entertaining. So I recommend that one. The Lost Years of Black Sabbath, Never Say Die. That's brilliant. There was stuff in here that when this came out, there was a lot of information that had never been out. You realise there was a lot of stuff that was secretive. Black Sabbath, very secretive. A lot of it came from Jeff Nichols, who was pretty much excommunicated from Tony Iommi after the release of this book because he'd lifted the lid on the Dark Years and all that. So that's great. Sid Smith's book, obviously, goes without saying. Zappa books. I've talked about that one before. That's about the 88 tour with the idiots on that tour ruining everything. Thanks for that. That's the best Zappa book. That's my Zappa Bible. You can see the state of it because I've read it about 50 times. Zappa and Jazz as well. That's pretty good. That's pretty cool. So I recommend all those books, and that's the end of the books. If you want us to review those books, you check out our Patreon at patreon.com/WentonKing, and maybe we'll review one.
Yeah, I'd say. Well, we're gonna put some affiliate links in for that. We had a few people look at the affiliate links last week. Honestly, most people have read these anyway, but you never know.
That's the thing. Isn't it?
We might be able to buy get a packet of biscuits or something like that for our coffee. Yeah. Shall I put affiliate links in for that lot as well?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
It's going to take forever, isn't it? But I'll do it.
You sure you want to do it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because
it means the description's going to be about this long.
If people buy them, they might also join the Patreon and recommend them on it reviewed because they've read it. That's the thing, isn't it, about these reviews? Is people generally, they don't want reviews of things they don't know.
Yeah,
you want reviews of things you already know, don't you?
That's true, that is.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. I've enjoyed doing the book reviews, actually.
Yep, I've enjoyed the book reviews.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I've enjoyed episode 200.
Is that it?
Which is coming to an end. It hasn't got an ending. We had this wonderful idea and it's not going to happen, so forget that. I'm not going to say what it is because you'll all say, oh, you must do it, and we can't. That's the end of that.
Back to normal reviews now.
Typical prog epic, it just ends. Just a bit of chords, dun, 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 and then the melody again just finishes. Yeah. Sorry. Catch you next week for a review. We've now had loads of requests on the Patreon, and we've also been sent loads of CDs
in the past.
We've got to review them, and this is awesome. And thanks so much for sending us CDs, and thank you for the Patreon as well.
Yeah.
So we're going to enjoy getting through all this stuff now.
Yeah. Oh, is next episode going to be 202?
No, it's 201. There's the next one.
We've already done 201 though.
Yeah, but that was episode 200 part 2.
Oh, interesting. That'll cause confusion.
It will. Yeah.
When we get a Wikipedia entry.
It's been the whole episode 201 will be that section on Wikipedia. The fabled episode 201 actually happened twice.
Dun, dun, dun.
Right. See you next week.